Hey everybody, welcome back to World Tanks. We are doing 9.5 overview today. It should be out in about a week. So they're into Common Test 3, which means most of the bugs should be out. So everything that we see should hopefully be in the final game. I don't like doing these early. I know I did an update patch for 9.3, which you can find in the videos that I did when the patch was released. I forgot to do one for 9.4, but I'm doing one now for 9.5 because this is a big update. So I'm going to do this in a couple of parts so that you guys don't end up with like a 4-hour video over everything that's happening. So this is going to be over personal missions. So we're doing personal missions today. When you see the screen, you'll see I'm actually setting up for the second video, which will be going over the new British tank destroyer line. Very exciting. And then we're going to do a general patch overview. Cool. All right. So we're going to go over to individual missions, and we'll see how those work out. Here we go. All right. So let's go over to individual missions here. So I've already selected. So here we go. So if you look at the main screen, you see we have 4 tanks that we can get individual missions through. We've got the Tier 5 tank destroyer, the Stug 4, the Tier 7 tank destroyer, the T-28 Concept, a very funky looking tank. You can see it actually here. Check that thing out. We have the medium tank T-55A. This is basically a T-54. It's just a fancier T-54. And then we have finally the heavy tank object 260, which I believe is just an IS-7 with slight model changes. Now the interesting thing to note before we get into this is that each one of these tanks is technically a premium as far as crew training is concerned. But these function more like the Clan Wars reward tanks than a standard premium tank you would buy from the gift shop. What I mean by that is that the Clan Wars premium tanks do not get increased credit gain and decreased repair costs. Instead, they function as normal tanks. The benefit to them is only in crew training. So, like in premium tanks, you can put any crew of the same nation and same tank type training. So, for example, in the tank destroyer T-28 Concept, you could put in your Hellcat crew, or your T-110E4 crew, or any American tank destroyer into the T-28 Concept without retraining it to the T-28 Concept, and you could get the benefits of the full crew in addition to having it gain crew experience on a separate tank without having to retrain. Basically, it's just a benefit that way. So let's go through these one by one. There's a bunch of them, so I may fly through a couple of the earlier ones. This is campaign 1. Yeah, here we can see. So if you complete all missions in the set, you get a female crew member for each vehicle type. And combination lists I don't really care about. So the Stug 4 we can see here. Actually, let me compare this to the regular Stug. I think I've got one in my garage. I'll just go into the tech tree and grab it from there, actually. Let me pull it up. Vehicle details. Alright, so comparing it to the Tier 5 regular Stug Aufs G. So it has 10 more hit points. It is slightly heavier with a slower engine, so this is going to be much more sluggish than the Stug is. Top speed is relatively the same. It's going to be slower turning. Hull armor is the same. Gun is the same. Fires slightly faster. View range is worse, and radio range is better. So what you basically end up with is a slower Stug 3 that is going to have slightly more armor. In addition, because of these side skirts, these act as spaced armor. Which means you'll have a little more protection from the side, especially if you happen to run across an M4 who happens to be using heat in the 105 howitzer, which is the bane of all Stug drivers ever. Alright, pretty basic. Next up would be the T-28 Concept, I believe. That's the wrong button. So let me pull up. Let's see, a good comparison to that would maybe be the T25AT, since that's the same tier. That does not look like it has the right gun. It does not. Let me just free XP into this, so I can mount everything. Maybe I should have thought this through before doing all this, but that's alright. Alright, I mean, it just failed to load, but I don't really care. Now we can look at vehicle details. That's better. That's what I want to see for shell damage, right? Yep. So I'll go back to the garage, go back to missions. We'll take a look at the, oh, wrong button, the T28 prototype. Alright, here we go. So this is a tier for tier comparison. We see more hit points, considerably heavier. So the power to weight ratio is such that the T28 concept is going to be much, much slower. We can see that off the top speed and the traverse speed. It has significantly more hull armor, but the shell damage is identical with less penetration, also less rate of fire. So this thing is going to be a tank. Quite literally. I mean, well, obviously it's a tank, but more what I mean is that it's got a ton of armor, but it's very, very slow. So at the moment we have 2 tank destroyers that have guns that are on par with their tier counterparts, but the difference has been hit points and primarily speed. The difference between 880 hit points and 840 hit points is fairly small. So the biggest difference here is definitely speed. And possibly camo rating. Those are soft stats that Wargaming doesn't release. So I don't know exactly how those are going to play in. If we look at the crew, we have 4-man and 4-man, so you can easily swap between those two for sure. Alright, let's move on to the T55A, which is basically a T54. I'm a ways from the T54 still on this account, so let me just free XP up to the T54. Thankfully they give you tons of free experience, so you can just kind of go and do whatever you need to do. So let me just work my way up. Tier 8, Tier 9. I'll go ahead and buy it with 100% crew, because why not? And tracks. And engine. And radio. And turret. And I'm trying to remember which gun I use. I always forget. Trying to say which one I would use personally. I think I would use probably... it's really hard to say. I'm going to go with this one for the moment. Rate of fire is slightly worse. It's probably something that through experience I would know more about. That's alright though. I'll get there eventually. Alright, so I forgot to pick the crew up. I keep hitting service record instead of tech tree, and I'm not sure why. Alright, vehicle details. There's the T54. And campaign rewards, the T55A. Alright, here we go. So we can look again at a top tier comparison. We see a slower, slightly slower tank with slightly better traverse speed. Hit points are slightly higher. Hull armor is slightly worse, very, very slight, 120 versus 100. Turret armor is identical. Shell damage is identical. Standard shell penetration would be the same if I chose the other gun, the 203, the other 100mm. Rate of fire is slightly higher, and turret traverse is slightly higher. With view range also slightly higher. So this is effectively an identical T-54. There are very, very minor differences between the two tanks. In general, though, I would say that if you do not go down the Russian line, or if you haven't gone down the Russian medium line, picking up a T-55A is essentially like skipping all the way to Tier 9 in the medium tank line, because this is, for all intents and purposes, a T-54. It's basically the same tank. That's pretty straightforward. And then the last one is the Object 260, which is effectively a IS-7. So again, we'll go into the tech tree, because I'm a scrub and I don't have it all the way yet. IS-8 all the way to the IS-7. So free XP, congratulations, free XP. Go ahead and buy that with 100% crew. And vehicle details. And then we'll go back to the garage and back into missions, because why not? Oh, I can't see the other tank. Hold on. There we go. Missions. So, what do we have here? Hit points, slightly less. Engine power, slightly higher for considerably less weight. So this will be a faster version of the IS-7. Top speed is on parity. Traverse speed is the same. Hull armor is slightly worse from the rear, but the same from front and sides. Turret armor is better, significantly so. Shell damage is worse. Shell penetration is slightly higher, higher rate of fire, higher turret traverse speed. So as we've seen with all these other tanks, this is effectively an IS-7, although I would argue that there is a, well, it's hard to say really. The higher turret armor on this particular vehicle means that it's harder to penetrate, but the thing that makes the IS-7 so dangerous is that offset dome turret that it has, meaning that the effective armor it has is actually much higher than 240 millimeters, whereas the Object 260 has much more many more flat surfaces for shells to penetrate through. Slightly less damage, not significant. I would say functionally these are about the same. In practice, I would argue the IS-7 will probably be better. But that is kind of what we want to see actually out of any sort of a war tank like this. We want the tanks that you actually achieve to be better, because otherwise what's the point in getting the actual tank when you could settle for the reward tank? Alright, now that we've gone over, I'm going to go over the missions, and we will step into that. So let's do the first one. This will be the easiest one, the Stug 4. Now, the way this works, if I recall correctly, is that basically every tick you get secondary conditions. And if you get all the secondary conditions for all of the different vehicle type basically if you get all the secondary conditions for all of 4 vehicle types, you get to skip a vehicle type, which is really hard to do because there's 15 missions at each tree. So that's 60 conditions, which is significant. Alright, so we'll start with the easiest one, the Stug 4, and we'll step our way through this. So let's see. For light tanks, we have win the battle, be in the top 10 players of your team by experience earned, and survive. Pretty basic. Reward is just some shit. Reconnaissance. Be the first on your team to spot at least 2 enemy vehicles and survive. Alright, pretty straightforward still. I think we can keep going with this. Again, these two are both survive, and considering that I think the average survival rate for tanks is somewhere between 20 and 25%, it's actually very likely that a lot of people won't get the secondary condition. And if you don't get the secondary condition, then you have to do all the trees, which is frustrating for those of us who don't want to play artillery, like yours truly. Alright, the Pursuit. Cause damage to at least 3 enemy vehicles while on the move. Destroy an enemy vehicle while on the move. This will be, again, it's pretty basic. This is something that you can do just in your normal games. This isn't something you have to focus on. Tier 4 is the same. Destroy a track of an enemy vehicle. If you're a decent player, you should be doing this already. Focusing on those front or rear sprockets to do the most track damage you can. Should be fine. And secondary conditions should happen basically no matter what. Light Tank 5. Spot an enemy vehicle and assist your allies in destroying it. If you're playing your Light Tank correctly, this should come very, very easily. Here we see rewards are starting to get out of money and into premium consumables, which is handy. Also, the secondary conditions is increased by 10,000 credits. Number 6. Spot 2 enemy vehicles before they spot you. If you can't, or if you're having a hard time doing this in your light tank, I would suggest mounting either binoculars and finding a bush, or grab coated optics if you're doing a more active scout role. Again, all of these missions so far have been ones that will probably occur over the course of regular play. Something to consider. The SPG Hunter. Spot an enemy SPG and assist your allies in destroying it. Again, if you survive the battle... Now, assist your allies in destroying it, I'm not sure exactly whether this is you have to kill it, or whether it's your friends have to kill it, or maybe both. Let's move on to number 8. Let's see. Win the battle by capturing the enemy base. Earn at least 25% of the total base capture points. This is very, very unfortunate. I guess go for cap. I'm kind of upset about this because I think that capping is usually pointless, and this will just encourage more light tanks to cap, which I would rather see a kill. Again, though, so far none of these have been overly too exciting. These are all things that will happen during the course of the game. Sometimes it's necessary to cap, and I've said that before in some of my videos. And if that's the case, then go for it. I think this will just happen over the course of the game. Battle support. Spot at least 2 enemy vehicles or destroy their tracks. And use coated optics or binocs. So once you get to tier 9, I hope that your light tanks are packing either coated optics or binocular telescopes. Both of those are incredibly useful and good to have, especially as a scout. Alright, number 10. Spot enemy vehicles and enable your allies to cause at least 1,000 hit points of damage to vehicles spotted by you. Secondary conditions: use the camouflage net equipment and have a camouflage that corresponds to the season. Alright, so this, we're starting to get into things that take more skill or an incredible amount of luck to pull off. Basically, in this case, what you're going to want to do is grab a light tank, whichever one you want, throw camo net on it, throw probably binoculars on it, binocular telescope, and then if you feel like grabbing premium or permanent camouflage, go ahead. But don't forget that you can buy camouflage for, I think, 1 month or 3 months, I think it is, for credits. So if you are going for this particular mission, you don't have to get permanent camouflage. You can just buy it for credits and have it on your tank. And make sure you get all 3 seasons, because you have no idea what map you're going to end up on, and you don't want to have a great game where you have 1,000 hit points of damage to vehicles and you're unspotted, and because you only bought one type of camouflage, let's say summer, and you're on a winter map, you end up screwing it up. So Make sure if you buy camo, you buy all 4 or all 3 seasons. All right. Number 11, artillery fire. Join a battle as part of a platoon, including 1 or 2 SPGs. All right. So basically, this means this is just working together with a platoon. Now these are what's the word I'm looking for? Controversial. A lot of people don't like the idea that they have to play as a platoon. I think it's great. I don't think that wargaming rewards platoon play as much as it should. The game is about teamwork, and one of the best ways to do that is to platoon up. So if you have friends that play, or if you have a clan that plays, platoon up. Get to work. Plus, this will actually help working together. Should be good. All right. So I don't think it's a big problem. It's 1,500 hit points of damage to vehicles spotted by you. That's not that much, especially if you grab some higher tier stuff. So if you're low level, unfortunately, this is going to be difficult. But if you're upper level, grabbing a tier 7 or 8 scout and having your friends grabbing a tier 8, 9, or 10 artillery, you go scout, they'll get hammered. Let's see, number 12, combat patrol, another platoon. So a platoon of light tanks spot enemy vehicles and enable your allies to cause at least 2,000 hit points of damage to the vehicles spotted by you. And at least one platoon member must survive the battle. Now this is very interestingly worded. My guess is that the idea behind this is that the 2,000 hit points of damage is spread within the platoon. Especially considering the description and hints, it says the more well-coordinated players your team has, the greater your battle efficiency. You can triple the efficiency if you join the battle in a platoon. So I think what this means is that you get a platoon of light tanks, and you all run around, and everybody does a lot of damage. Now, 2,000 hit points of damage is actually pretty easy to come by, especially between 3 tanks. But what this means is you're basically doing it at tier 7 and up. Because a lot of times, unless you're in an amazing position, there's just not enough hit points to go around at these lower tiers. So now that we're climbing into these, 10, 11, 12, up to 15, these are definitely requiring higher tier battles. And I think we'll see as we go through, from the little bit I've read, that once you get to 15, you should basically be at tier 10, otherwise you almost have no shot. 13. Destroy an enemy vehicle that is the same tier as your vehicle or higher. This should simply happen over the course of the game. 1,000 hit points of damage sometimes is difficult to do. Again, though, if we're at higher tiers, let's say, for example, tier 8. Let's say you're running around in the AMX 1390. The 1390 has an average damage output of 240 per shell, and a clip of, I think, 6, possibly 5. Either way, if you land an entire clip, congratulations, you've done 1,000 hit points of damage. So it's quite easy for you to actually pull this off. So this should just happen over the course of normal play in a tier 7 or 8 scout. You could probably do it in tier 6 too. You'd have to have a fairly good game. But 7 and 8, it's absolutely possible, and honestly very likely. More likely than 11 or 12. So 11 or 12 are going to be the limiting factors here that you're going to need. But 13 should be fairly easy to accomplish. 14. Finish the battle as the top player on your team by experience earned. This is going to take an amazing game. It's going to happen. You just got to stick with it. Basically, this is, if you pull an Ace Tanker Mastery Badge, you're going to pull this one off. So that's what it's going to take. It's just going to take standard play. It'll show up. And finally, Reconnaissance Pro. Assist your allies in causing at least 4,000 hit points of damage by spotting enemy vehicles or destroying their tracks. This is basically, again, 7 or 8 in a great game. Since you can't do each mission at the same time. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I've learned something as well. And this is actually really, really important. Unless they change something. This will basically happen again on an Ace Tanker. I've done a couple of light tank reviews, or not tank reviews, but replay series. And in every one, I try to do a scout match. And in every scout match, it's a ton of spotting. And the reason for that is that there's just a lot of hit points to go around. And especially with spotting or destroying tracks, if you focus on the tracks, then that'll give you extra stuff too. So I think that it'll happen. I think it's just going to take, basically 14 and 15 are going to be ace tankers. So whenever you play a light tank at tier 7 or 8, make sure you've got the mission started and go for it. And this is the interesting, is that the reward is 4 of these completion tokens, which you need 20 to unlock the tank. You get a bunk in the barracks, and you get a female crew member who I believe can be trained for any nation and any tank type for free the first time. And then fulfillment of secondary conditions is another tick. So basically, it doesn't matter what you do in the first 14. This last one is where you start getting the extra bonuses. And frankly, the secondary condition on this one is not that difficult. If you're doing 4,000 hit points of spotting damage, this one should happen. I would be very surprised if it didn't. Spot an enemy vehicle or destroy its track. This enemy vehicle must consequently be destroyed. If you're doing 4,000 hit points of spotting damage, I think the secondary condition is probably going to fall in. It's going to be really rare if this doesn't show up, which means for this one in particular, you should be able to get 5 commemoration tokens. Alright, medium tanks. I'm going to step through these a little bit faster because we don't need to go over them in super depth. Looks like this video will probably run an hour, which is a little bit longer, but as you can see, I'm glad that I'm doing this independently of the tree overviews and the patch notes overview, because we would end up with a video that was hours long and there's no point in watching that. Alright, medium tanks. First steps: damage, win, top 10 players in your team survive. Should just happen normal play. Cause damage while on the move. If you're not doing this in a medium tank, you're playing it wrong. Destroy an enemy vehicle on the move. Again, should be normal play. This should just happen. Cause damage to an enemy vehicle during the first 5 minutes of the battle. So get up there, do damage, run away, survive. So that's just be careful. Destroy the track of an enemy vehicle and cause damage to the immobilized vehicle and destroy it. This is just a... my phone is ringing again. I can wait. So destroy the track, destroy an immobilized enemy vehicle, again, normal play. Destroy a light tank, survive the battle, normal play. Cause damage to enemy vehicles of 3 different types, survive the battle. That so the survive is always interesting. Sometimes you don't necessarily get lucky like that. But cause damage to enemy vehicles of 3 different types, that is, it's pretty straightforward. Mediums, heavies, lights. This is something that you should probably keep in the back of your mind. It'll probably just happen over the course of normal play, but it's something to just keep track of. I would try and do this in something like tier 5. Especially in some of the medium tanks, because you've got a high rate of fire. You can do it at tier 6 too, I guess, depending on the tank. I'll probably end up trying to do a lot of this stuff in my Comet or my Cromwell, just because their speed and DPM is phenomenal. Yeah, again, normal play battle. 7, destroy an enemy SPG. This will happen if you manage to get back there, is basically what it is. I wouldn't go for this straight up. I mean, you could, but the secondary condition isn't necessarily required. But I think this will just, again, it's just normal play. It'll happen, and you'll get the kill. Destroy at least 2 enemy medium tanks. Again, normal play. Set an enemy vehicle on fire and be the top 5 players on your team by experience earned. So the secondary condition on this one is a little chancy. But set an enemy vehicle on fire, I think that's just something that's going to happen over the course of normal play. Sometimes you can pick your shots well to do damage if you know where to shoot. For the most part, though, I would just play mediums on number 9 until you set somebody on fire, and then congratulations, you got number 9. I would say this happens. I set somebody on fire at least once every 10 battles, roughly. Yeah, I'd say about once every 10 battles in medium tanks, I set somebody on fire. So, maybe once every 15. What I'm trying to say is that it happens more often than you realize. It may not happen to you, but remember that you're playing against 15 other tanks, and you're shooting at all of them a lot. So you're actually cycling through the chance quite rapidly. So the possibility of setting one on fire is actually fairly high. So again, normal play. Fire at least 6 shots that cause damage to enemy vehicles. If you can't do this in a medium tank, you need to go back to shooting school. This should happen. Alright. Destroy an enemy vehicle by ramming. This I'm going to do in my E50. Because you know what's fun? Ramming people in an E50. But you can do this in just about any tank. Make sure that you're ramming smart, though. If you're in a medium tank, let's say an M4, because it's the first one that came to mind, and you're trying to ram, I don't know, a KV-220. Same tier, you're going to lose a lot. So make sure you're smart about your ramming and you ram vehicles that you know you can kill with the ram that won't kill you. Alright. Team play. As a platoon, destroy 3 enemy vehicles. This should happen in a 3-member platoon easily. And a 2-member platoon fairly easily. Each platoon member must cause damage to enemy vehicles destroyed by the platoon. Oh, I see what this... So secondary editions, basically the 3 of you have to stick together and y'all shoot the same thing. Alright, pretty basic. 13. As a platoon, cause at least 3,000 hit points of damage to enemy vehicles. Platoon must be among the top 5 players on your team by experience earned. If your platoon is halfway decent, this should just happen. 3,000 hit points of damage, especially at higher tiers, 7, 8, 9, 10, is not very much at all. If you think about it, that's 1,000 damage per member. So it's not a ton. So you should definitely be able to do this easily. Even at lower tiers, even at like tier 6, there's probably enough hit points maybe to go around. Definitely 7, 8, 9 though, and 10 for sure. 14 is destroy an enemy heavy tank that is 1 tier higher than your vehicle and survive the battle. This is just normal play. Nothing too exciting here. And the last one is destroy at least 2 enemy tank destroyers, survive the battle. This, again, is normal play. As a matter of fact, you could do this easily in a tier 5 tank. Easily. I would say the medium tree is actually far, far easier. Well, there's a couple of things that require higher tier tanks, like the 3,000 hit point one. But for the most part, I think you're good. Alright, heavy tanks. Destroy an enemy vehicle, cause 1,000 hit points of damage. This one's going to be hard to do in lower tiers. You're going to want to climb into 7, 8, 9 to do this. Notice it doesn't even require surviving or winning. So, go out there, do a shit ton of damage, die if you need to, it doesn't even matter. 1 done. 2, destroy an enemy vehicle from distance of up to 100 meters. So, brawl, basically. Yeah. Get up there, get up close and personal. There's a lot of heavy tanks that can do that. IS-3, Tiger 2, even Tigers and AMX. Now, maybe not AMX 5100, although sometimes you end up getting up close. Just pick a heavy tank, get up close, and shoot somebody. It doesn't have to be another heavy tank. It could be anything. Destroy at least 2 enemy vehicles and 2 different types. Normal course of play. Damage or destroy a module or injure 1 crew member of an enemy vehicle. Normal course of play. Be among top 3 players on your team by damage caused. Normal course of play. Destroy 2 enemy heavy tanks. Normal course of play. Participate in a successful capture of the enemy base. Cause at least 1,000 hit points to enemy vehicles. I hate this mission. Heavy tanks should not be capturing the enemy base. They should be killing. I'm gonna hate doing this one. Again, though, normal course of play. This isn't something you have to work towards. This is something that will just happen even on an average game. Cause at least 1,000 hit points of damage to enemy heavy tanks. Destroy 2 vehicles. Normal course of play. Destroy an enemy vehicle by ramming. This one will also be fun. Yeah, just hit somebody. Again, though, same with the mediums. Make sure that you're hitting the right tank. Because heavy tanks are slower, you have to make sure that you hit right, basically. Target acquired. Cause at least 1,000 hit points of damage to enemy vehicles that appear in your view range. This should just happen, like all the other ones. Nothing too exciting here. At the end of battle, cause at least 1,000 hit points of damage. Do not have any damaged modules or injured crew members on your vehicle. This will be... I'd say there's two ways to go about this. The first is get lucky and have a great game. The second, and I don't know if this will count or not, the second would be to carry a premium repair kit, so the large repair kit and a large first aid kit. And right as the battle's about to end, spam both of them. It's very likely, I mean, I don't know if that's the case or not. It'll be really interesting to see. I'll probably test it. But the biggest idea here is that if you can do that, then that would kind of be cheating a little bit. I don't know. That's what I would consider doing, though. Either get lucky or run a couple of battles. I'll probably try to do most of these in my Tiger 2 or E75. Yeah, just basically it's survive, right? Because you can't, if you die, then you'll have injured crew members and damaged modules. But I'll probably do that. I'll probably pack a large repair kit and a large first aid kit on both of those tanks while I'm trying for this one. And I'll just go about my business, and then right as the game is about to end, I'll just spam both of them if I'm still alive. If I'm dead, then it doesn't matter. And then we'll see if it ticks. Okay, pretty basic. 12. Have total damage blocked by your armor equal or exceed the hit points of your vehicle. If you play right, this will happen a lot. Yeah. This will be easier on lower tiers. Higher tiers, you get a significant increase in penetration, so I would suggest... Excuse me. I would suggest KV1 or KV220 on this one. Both of those would be good options for that. Also, T14, although the gun kind of blows, so maybe not. Anything else? Nope, that's about it. Platoon of heavy tanks. As a platoon destroy an enemy vehicle during the first 5 minutes of battle, this should just happen. Grab a platoon. Go have fun. Bomb around. Pretty basic. Destroy 3 enemy vehicles of 2 different types. 1 platoon member must survive the battle. Again, this should just happen over the course of play if you're playing with platoons. I know I play with platoons pretty frequently. Should just happen. Okay. And the last one is damage caused, damage received, and damage blocked by armor must be at least 8,000 in total. So the first time I saw this, I thought it was just damage caused, and I was like, holy crap, that's insane. But now that I'm looking at it, actually having 8,000 hit points in damage caused, received, and blocked is not that much. I mean, it's a lot, don't get me wrong. But it's not actually that much. Let's put it this way, right? You could do 4,000 or 5,000 damage in a game pretty easily. And if you're in a top tier tank, you could take 1,000 damage or more. Don't mind me, I just dropped the microphone. And that was probably really loud, and I'm sorry. Also, I seem to have dropped my phone on the ground. Alright, so. Caused, received, blocked by armor, 8,000. Best tank for this, E100, T110E5, mouse. Really basically any heavy tank. I'm trying to think of any heavy tank that won't be able to do this. Probably tier 10. I would say grab a tier 10 and go do it. If you don't have a tier 10, you're gonna have a hard time. I don't think I've ever done this in my Tiger 2. It's theoretically possible in an E75, although it's very, very difficult. Same goes for, you could maybe do it in ST1 or STI, depending on how you want to do it. IS-3 maybe, if you get really lucky. IS-6 maybe, depending on how many people start slinging heat. You won't do it in an FCM. You might do it in a Liva, but probably not. You might do it in a T-34, but probably not. I think you're basically stuck 9-10 on some of those heavily armored tanks. I think your best bet is probably E100 or Mouse. And then IS-7, IS-4 probably not. You won't do it in the FE-250B. The armor's not good enough. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, I mentioned the 110E5. That's pretty bouncy. Could probably do it in that. I think that's going to take a tier 10 heavy tank. I think is what that's going to do. I don't think you're going to be able to do that anywhere else. So, this is the first really hard one I've seen. No, thank you. It's going to be, yeah, okay. Tank destroyers. Top 7 players, experience earned, normal course of play. 1 module into your crew member, normal course of play. Go the fuck away. Destroy at least 2 enemy vehicles, win the battle, survive the battle. Again, normal course of play. Destroy the enemy vehicle, remain unspotted by it at the moment of its destruction. Use camo net. Make sure you use a camo net. You should have it on your tank destroyer anyways. Normal course of play. Cause damage to an enemy vehicle from a distance of at least 300 meters. Cause at least 1,000 hit points of damage. Normal course of play, probably tier 6, 7, or 8 is the best place to do this. Or higher, obviously. Tier 5 is going to be hard to get that 1,000 hit points of damage unless you have a really, really good game. Yeah. Precise calculation. Cause damage to an enemy vehicle from a distance of at least 250 meters on the move. Should not be hard to do. Most tanks move a lot. So shoot them a lot. Should be pretty basic. And secondary conditions will just happen. I think that's something that you'll either get lucky or you won't. There's really no difference there. First strike. Destroy an enemy vehicle having received no prior damage to your vehicle. Should be over the course of normal course of play. Yeah, just make sure your first kill is before you get spotted. Cause twice as much damage to enemy vehicles and the hit points of your vehicle. Should happen in a reasonably good game. Might be easier at low tiers. Something to consider. Because a Stug has 360 hit points. So you do 720. Congratulations, you doubled it. And that's like 6 shots. So, yeah. Score 3 hits in a row. Just be careful where you're aiming. Remember that it's hits, not damage. So if you bounce, that's okay. I mean, it says damage, but it doesn't say damage. Alright, so this is ambiguous. This is a bit ambiguous, but I think there's 2 ways to interpret this. The first is you just gotta hit the fucker. I don't think that's what they're trying to say. I think you have to score 3 penetrations in a row. And that's going to take a little more careful aiming. So get a high pen gun and go to town. Have fun. Or, ooh, this is dirty. Or load HE. When HE hits a vehicle, it's considered a penetration even if it doesn't do any damage. So 3 HE shots. Congratulations. There's your thing, and then just kill everything else. Cause at least 1,000 hit points of damage to enemy vehicles. Remain unspotted. Higher tiers are better. Should just happen. Especially with camo crew and camo nets. Hang out, don't get spotted, shoot stuff. This is going to be hard for me because I suck at tank destroyers. I'm great at medium tanks. I'm phenomenal at heavy tanks. I am terrible at tank destroyers. Platoon of tank destroyers. As a platoon, destroy 3 enemy vehicles. This should just happen in a platoon. Again, with all these platoon ones, a 3-man platoon is the best. So you can do it in 2. 3 is better. Cause damage to an enemy vehicle before they damage any of your allies. This should just happen. If you get into a good spot, you can shoot somebody before they get to shoot anybody else. This will happen over the normal course of play. Shouldn't be a problem. Unless... I think this is just... I think this is cause a vehicle before they've done any damage. Because if this is cause damage to an enemy vehicle before any ally takes damage, that's kind of bullshit. The key rule: finish the battle as the top player on your team by damage caused. Cause twice as much damage as the second best player on your team. This will be difficult to do, but not impossible. Get a tank destroyer, probably with a turret. So Hellcat, T-25-2 maybe. Prototype is probably too slow. 110E4, Borsig is a good one for this. Actually, any of the Borsig or the Waffenträger auf Panzer IV or the Waffenträger auf E100. Those three German top tiers are good for this. Other than that, get lucky. A Top Gun battle will probably be enough. Something to consider. Also, it is tier 4 or higher. You could theoretically do it in a T40 with the 105 howitzer. Possible. Join a battle as part of a platoon of tank destroyers. Right? Cause 30% of the total damage caused to the enemy vehicles by your team. I would maybe consider doing this at low tiers. And just trying to wreck. I think tier 4 or 5 might be easier than at higher tiers. Because obviously the higher you go up, the more damage you have to do. It's certainly possible. I've seen games where my platoon has done something like 70%. So 30% is certainly doable. But I think lower tiers is better for this. Tier 4, 5, 6. And cause at least 4,000 hit points of damage to enemy vehicles. This is just going to have a phenomenal game in a tier 9 or 10 tank destroyer. That's what this is going to take. That's basically all there is to it. God, I can't imagine what the T55A is going to be like, but this is going to be like, have a great game. Good luck. SPGs. Cause 1,000 hit points of damage. Normal course of play if you're a scumbag. Remain unspotted. That's just waiting for a super win. That's be accurate. Low tiers. I would do this at tier 4 or tier 5. There's a shit ton of light tanks. Especially slow light tanks. I would do this at tier 4 or 5. Destroy track. This should be fine. Should be fine. This will just happen over course of play. This you could actually focus on first, and that wouldn't be bad. Counter-arting can be really, really powerful at times. So maybe take the first couple of minutes and look for that tracer round. Blow them out of the air. This one should be pretty easy to do. Cause a damage to an enemy vehicle that remains unspotted for your team. Okay, this will just happen over the course of normal play. Most of the time, if a tank is just spotted, they will disappear before your shell gets there. So that should just happen normally. Let's see. Damage an enemy vehicle that is moving at a speed of at least 10 kilometers per hour. 10 kilometers per hour is really slow. Should just happen over normal course of play. Cause damage to an enemy SPG that has not been spotted. This is basically exactly the same thing as counter sniping or counter artillery. Again, wait for the shot. Cause damage to 2 enemy vehicles with a single shot. This will be lucky, basically. You're going to have to use a gun that has a decent radius. German artillery is pretty good. American artillery isn't bad. British artillery later on is really good. I think it's just going to take a lot of work. The Striker. Be among the top 3 players on your team by damage caused. I can't believe I'm running already an hour and I still haven't gone through the other ones. That's going to be... You're just going to have a great game in artillery, and that's kind of sad. Platoon of SPGs cause 20% of total damage caused to enemy vehicles. You're just going to have to crush. 2,000 hit points of damage as part of a platoon. That's fine. Everybody survives. Again, just do it until you get it. And top 3 players on your team by experience earned and damage caused cause at least 2,000. This is just going to... These artillery ones are just going to be a grind. Unless you're in some of these top tier, like 8, 9, 10 artilleries, it's going to be hard to do. Alright, that is the Stug. We've got a good idea. That's interesting. So this one actually gives some free experience. Alright, let's look at just difference on the top ones here. So tier 5 or higher instead of 4 or higher. Cause 5,000 damage by spotting enemy vehicles or destroying enemy vehicles' tracks. Gonna have to be an amazing game for lights. Mediums is 3 tank destroyers. That is really easy. This is insane. You need to have an absolutely amazing game. There's no other way to put this. You have to have an amazing, a phenomenal game. One of the best games you've ever had. I don't know. And I'll have to start doing some calculations on some of my heavy tank plays, especially some of my better games, but good God, that's a lot. TDs is... do a shit ton of damage. I think a lot of these are going to have to be like Death Stars. The FV215-183 or the new FV4005 or the Waffenträger Alfie 100 or even the Jagdpanzer. I don't think you're going to be able to do this in any other tank. I think this is going to take a tier... It's going to take a tier 10 tank destroyer, and if you don't have tier 10s, you don't get these tanks. And the SPG is do a shit ton of damage and be in the top 3, which I think is the exact same as the previous one, right? Yeah, it's exactly the same. Okay, so SPG doesn't change. Let's look at the 55. So it's the same missions. It looks like it's just, they're just slightly harder at each tier. So this is assist your allies in causing at least 6,000 hit points of damage by spotting. This is just have a great game. Notice that the completion is increasing by a tier each time you go up. So the Stug was tier 4, the T-28 concept was tier 5, the T-55 is tier 6, and I'm assuming then the Object 260 is tier 7. Also, money has increased significantly. Premium days for these, which is handy. Slots in garage, so you're getting more shit as you do these other missions. Just do a shit ton of damage. Medium tanks. Destroy 2 enemy tank destroyers that are 1 tier higher. You know, these medium tanks are not that difficult. Not these ending ones. They're really not. This should happen in a tier 9 tank. Or tier 8. There's a lot of mediums that can do this. This is not something to be worried about. Alright, 12,000 hit points of damage. Now we're starting to get into the realm of complete insanity. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's going to get this stuff done. That's crazy. Tank Destroyer, 6,000 hit points. Again, you got to be like super high. And finish the battle as the top player in your team by experience earned canvas toss. Start 3,000 damage. Again, I think the SPG ones are going to take a tier 10 artillery. Maybe a tier 9. You might be able to do it in the M53, M55. That thing has enough damage at tier 9 to count as a tier 10, even though it's not. Other than that, that's rough. Okay. And then finally, the Object 260, just so that I can pull my hair out on how ridiculous these are. 7,000 hit points of damage by spotting enemy vehicles or destroying enemy vehicles' tracks. That's a lot. Good luck. You're going to need it. That's going to take not just an amazing game, like a super fucking amazing game. Destroy 4 enemy tank destroyers, cause at least 3,000 hit points of damage. That will be... This is now we're actually starting to get difficult simply because a lot of times you don't see 4 tank destroyers. So this is going to take an amazing game. Again, though, I would do this at like tier 6. I'll probably try for this one in either a Comet or a Cromwell. Just because they're so quick. And I'll focus. We're now getting into the range here, especially with this last one. Where this last battle is definitely going... Oh, secondary conditions, though. 3,000 hit points. You're going to... Okay, here's the deal. If you want the secondary condition, so you don't have to do the artillery, you're not going to be able to do it at tier 6. You're going to have to do it at 8, 9, 10. It's the only option you've got, because it's the only way you're going to get 3,000 damage. I don't think I've ever gotten 3,000 damage in my Comet. Because it does 150 damage a pop. And 3,000 damage, that's a lot of rounds. That's 20 shots I have to put in. Which is possible, sure. Very, very unlikely. So yeah. You're looking at 8, 9, 10, probably for this one. Bat chats. Bat chats will be able to do this. Heavy tanks, I don't even want to look. 14,000 damage. I'm going to have to look and see just what kind of shit people are doing in some of these ace tankers. Because that seems insane to me. I'm sure it's possible, but God. I'll check. Maybe in the next video when I go over the line, maybe I'll try and get back to you guys. I don't know. We'll see. That just seems like a lot to me. No, you know what? I'm going to look it up right now while I'm thinking about it. Let's see. Replays. Find me an let's see. First find me a Maz. Any 100. I want ace tankers too. Let me see. 8k damage. Let's look at you. Let's look at you. Okay, let me see here. I have detailed report. 8,000 damage dealt, 4,500 damage blocked by armor, 4,000. So this great game was 12,000, not 4,000, not 40,000, not enough. This victory was 6,300 damage caused, 2,800 damage blocked by armor. Again, nothing. Here we go. Phenomenal game. Heartbreak. 9,819 damage caused. 4,260 damage blocked by armor. So there we go. It's a loss, but he did manage to get the 1,400. What is the... do you have to win? Yeah, win. So even this wouldn't have done it because he didn't win. Let me see if I can find anything else. Epic victory mouse. Alright, here we go. That is 5,400 damage with 1,100 spotting. That's not even close to enough with an ace tanker. Maz, 6,500 damage caused, 3,500 damage blocked, 1,400 damage. That is not even 12,000. So here's one. Here we go. This one did it. Victory. 9,600 damage caused, 7,400 damage blocked by armor. So there we go. That's 16,000. So it is possible. That's going to be really rough. TDs are 8,000 damage. Just have a absolutely phenomenal game. That's going to be a really, really rare one to get. And SPGs, this is the same as the other one. So the SPGs are actually some of the easier ones to do, surprisingly enough. If you've got a tier 10 artillery, congratulations. The rest of us are kind of going to get stuffed here. Alright, that is it for the campaign tanks, the reward tanks. It's not going to be easy, but you can definitely do it. Stug you can do. Basically the missions are all the same. the bar is just raised a little bit. So Stug you can definitely do. It's gonna be hard, but you can do it. T28 concept you can do. It's gonna be hard, but you can do it. T55 is gonna be really hard. I hope you have a tier 10 heavy tank, because you're not gonna get it in tier 9. And same with the Object 260. And I would suggest either E100 mouse or IS7. I don't think you're going to get it in anything else. You're going to have to do one of those. You might get it in the 110E5, but I doubt it. All right, we're at an hour. I'm going to call it there. Let me get my hand here so we can sign off. So I'm going to go and finish off here. That are the individual missions. They shouldn't change between now and when the patch comes out. I think in a week. Look, they were looking for a December 24th patch release. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Christmas is a universal holiday. Whatever. Yeah. Well, I should say Christian is a universal Christian holiday, because there's a lot of countries that aren't Christian that don't celebrate Christmas. I want to make sure I put that out there so I don't. Whatever. You get the point. The point is that there's a shit ton of countries that all celebrate Christmas. So putting it out the day before Christmas, I don't know if it's the smartest move. Maybe the day after Christmas? Maybe after New Year's? I don't know. All right. So personal missions. Good luck. You're going to need it. Most of them should just happen. Don't forget to enable them, though. They're not automatically enabled. So if you are playing in a medium tank, make sure your medium missions are enabled. You're playing in a light tank, light missions, and so on and so forth. Don't forget, because if you have a great game that completes a mission and you didn't have it activated, you're shit out of luck. There's nothing you can do about it. All right, I'm off for now. I'm going to do another video probably today. I didn't get one yesterday for the tanks, the tank replay. I'll do that today. Sorry about that. So it'll be a bunch of videos today as I get them done. I'm just thinking up stuff that I want to do. We'll be good to go. All right, guys. I'll see you later. And until next time, happy tanking. Bye.